Hi everyone. This month I want to give you some quick practical tips on how to improve your sleep quality. So I know that it's not helpful for me to give you advice as junior lawyers and trainees that you need to get a solid 7 to 9 hours sleep a night, because that may not always be available to you right now. So instead what I'd like to do is give you some tips on how to set up your day so that once your head does hit the pillow, you can get to sleep as quickly as possible and your sleep quality will be as high as possible. And when I talk about quality of sleep, what I mean is as healthy adults, we go through different sleep cycles during the night. And each one of those sleep cycles is associated with a different process in our brain or our body. So in terms of making repairs, processing new data, making new connections, and essentially all the things that makes us a more effective human being when we wake up. And anything that we do that inhibits or delays those sleep cycles is going to reduce our quality of sleep and reduce our performance and our well-being the next day. So tip number 1 is be conscious of your exposure to light during the day. So one of the hormones that is associated with sleep is called melatonin. And melatonin is naturally produced in our body, and it starts to be produced in the evening when the natural light starts to dim. But of course the issue is these days we have a lot of access to unnatural electrical light during the evening, and that can inhibit our melatonin production. So we need to be conscious about trying to reduce our access during the evening to bright light and to blue light. So whether you're at home or in the office, a few hours before you know you're going to be heading to bed, try and dim any electrical lights. And then in terms of blue light, so blue light is the light that comes through all of our electronic devices. And there's a few things that you can do. So for your phones, you may have noticed, sorry, I can't speak. You may have noticed that most phones these days have what's called a night shift mode. So that blocks out blue light. So just make sure that's activated. And then on our laptops and computers, you can download various apps which restrict blue light. I use one called Flux, which is Flux. And at about 8 p.m. or whenever sunset is, the night shift goes on and it turns a bit orangey and the blue light is blocked. And then for everything else, so mostly television, you can actually go online on Amazon and buy for about £10 some blue light blocking glasses. So they look like this, just like reading glasses, or if you already wear glasses like me, you can get their clip-on things. So not exactly a fashion statement, but they look fine. And then on the flip side, in the morning, you need to try and make sure you increase your access to natural morning light, which helps with melatonin production in the evening. So if you get the tube to work, perhaps get off one stop earlier and have a 5 or 10 minute walk where you have access to light. If you work in a dark office, make sure you get out during the morning for 5 or 10 minutes to have some access to light. And maybe when you're eating breakfast at home or in the office, try and sit somewhere where you have access to natural light. So that's number 1, be conscious of light. Number 2 is try to avoid any intense experiences during the evening. One of the other hormones that is associated with sleep is cortisol. You may have heard of it in the context of stress. And cortisol does various things in our body, but it naturally fluctuates throughout the day. And in the evening, it naturally reduces to get us ready in a calm state, ready for sleep. So anything that you do in the evening to increase your cortisol levels is going to delay your sleep process. And one of the things that triggers cortisol is intense emotional reactions. So I'm aware that we may not be able to control all of our emotional reactions, but there is some low-hanging fruit that we can think about. And the first thing is to be conscious about what we're watching on television in the evening. So I don't want to say don't watch television. I understand that it's not very nice to go straight from the office if we're working late to bed, and relaxation time is important. But just be conscious about what you're watching. Try to avoid anything that is hilarious or terrifying or makes you angry or frustrated. So maybe avoid the news, Game of Thrones, things like that. Try and watch something calm and relaxing. The other thing to think about is social media and how that makes you think and react. Social media companies obviously spend a lot of money making their products as addictive as possible, and they do that by activating the reward circuitry in your brain. And what you really don't want in the hours before you go to bed is all of those hormones pumping around your body. So if you do use social media, try and use that earlier on in the day. So that's number 2. And number 3 is exercise and when you do it. So exercise is obviously great for many reasons, but in this context, it's actually super helpful in terms of helping your melatonin production in the evening. But exercise also throws up different hormones, one of which is cortisol. So just be conscious that if you're exercising in that 3 or 4 hour period before you're going to bed, it's going to take a while for the cortisol to work through your body before you can sleep. So if you can, try and do your exercise earlier on in the day. Now, of course, all of these solutions are not going to be practical for everyone, so my advice would be to pick the 1 or 2 that you can most easily incorporate into your existing routine and go with that. And of course, if you know that you're going to be working super late into the late hours of the night or early morning, then you need to push all of these things back by a few hours. If you want to work with me on personalising and optimising your morning or your evening routine, then feel free to reach out. You can find my contact details on my website or on the newsletter. But other than that, that's it for this month, and have a fantastic month. I will see you next time.